Welcome to Ronathan Plays and Probes. This is going to be a special edition, so it's going to be retitled Ronathan Comments and Contemplates. I'm looking forward to bringing you a monthly video where I get to comment and contemplate on the state of what's happening in not only the Dice Masters game, but in also games around the community, as well as how we can be a better community to others. Along with that, let's go ahead and get started into today's video. So this video is not only a comment and contemplate video, but it's also a response to the Ministry of Dice video, which I will link below. And it's going to be on needing a more diverse metagame. The reason that the Ministry of Dice made that video is because two cards have kind of run a little rampant, and they're maybe causing a little bit of a stale meta and maybe some negative play experience. So I want to dive in to those two cards and talk about it. The first card is going to be Becky Lynch, made in Ireland. She is a 5-cost shield and has Overcrush. So damage dealt in excess of blocker's D is dealt to the opponent. When fielded, re-roll up to 2 target superstar dice, character dice. Each die that does not roll a superstar face goes to the use pile. Becky Lynch then deals 1 damage to your opponent for each die sent to the use pile this way. So it's basically the old Storm Wind Rider. And then it also has the global Pay Shield. The first die you purchase this turn is added to your prep area instead of your use pile. So not only is this an awesome card, she's a 5-cost that on her level 3 side has an 8/8 attack and defense, has Overcrush, has the ability to re-roll 2 dice, send them to the use pile, deal you 1 damage for each, but it also has the Rip Hunter Prep Global. So this is pretty much an amazing card, and it's at times tough to play around, but it also is just kind of just an automatic, hey, you do this and you get to do that. So and then the second card that I want to talk to you about is about the Godcatcher, Famous Walking Statue. The first one, Becky Lynch, that came out of the WWE campaign set. Really good campaign set. And also the Godcatcher now, Famous Walking Statue, which is a 3-cost bolt. This came out of the Trouble in Waterdeep campaign box. And it is a trap, so you get to place it in your field zone when used and send to your use pile when triggered. How do you trigger it? You use an action die, basic action die, or any action die on your team. A non-basic action die on your team as well too. In its effect, you get to field a 10 attack and 10 defense Godcatcher token, and it has the ability of when Godcatcher attacks, target character die must block this turn if able. So these two cards are huge monster cards that are just pretty much any team that you've seen when we had our EarthX Origins events. I mean, you were either running Becky or you were running Godcatcher. In the case of Alan's team, who won it all, he ran both, which I played against him, and he did a brilliant job of piloting it. So hats off to whoever was playing their team with it. No hating on if you're using that team, because yeah, I'm using one of those in one current tournament that I'm playing in. So there's nothing wrong with you using it. It just kind of feels like, oh, are you running Becky, or are you running Godcatcher, or are you running something else? So it's basically you're running one of 3 things if you're going to do a no-ban tournament. So in response to the Ministry of Dice videos, I think I'm going to offer up 3 solutions. The current solution, with solution number 1, is that we normally have had with Dice Masters, in the case of the old Yanti Super Rare and the Cosmic Cube, in which I can make a video on another story on how to deal playing against both of those. Solution number 1, which WizKids has done before, which is basically just ban them both, right? So ban them out of modern play. They can't be used. They can be fun in Golden Age, but solution number 1, which WizKids has done before, is basically ban them both. Solution number 2, I feel, which may be a little bit more practical, so that way they can be used again, is we errata 2 or 3 cards. The two cards that I want to errata for sure are those Becky Lynch and the Godcatcher, but I also want to errata the other Godcatcher as well too. So Becky Lynch made in Ireland. So here is my proposal. What it would change. When fielded, re-roll up to one target superstar dice. So instead of 2, we're just going to re-roll 1. That's it. That's the only change that I would make. The errata that I would like to make to the Godcatcher is one of 3 erratas. This errata I would like to see in there. I honestly feel that, hey, for a 3 cost, you automatically get to put a 10 attack token and a 10 defense token, with only triggering it with 2 dice, the first die that you put into the field zone, and then a second basic action. I figure that that's completely unbalanced. So instead, its effect, why don't we field a 7 attack and 7 defense Godcatcher token? So we'll just make the Godcatcher tokens 7 attack and 7 defense. This also goes into the other Godcatcher, the Godcatcher Mighty Construct. So that one would also be, hey, when you field this, when your opponent attacks with a character die 7 or more, guess what? Boom. You automatically get a 7 attack and a 7 defense character Godcatcher token. The other 2 erratas that I'm possibly proposing to this is that you may only trigger the Godcatcher token by using a basic action die. So instead of it being any action die, we can change it to a non-basic action die or a basic action die, but we're gonna make sure that, hey, you can only trigger this one way. And then the other errata that we can think about is that, hey, you may only have 1 Godcatcher die or 1 Godcatcher token in the field zone at a time. So this would at least require you lining up and syncing up the order that you're going to play this. So that way, hey, you can't just have a Godcatcher token and a Godcatcher die just sitting in the field zone at the same time. So I figure, hey, maybe we can offer a little bit more restrictions to this. That way we can make it a little bit harder, and that way it's just, hey, you just don't pay 3 and you do one thing and then boom, you got a 10 attack that allows you to just target an opposing character die, or if your opponent's field zone is empty, just send it through for just 10 damage right away. So that was solution number 1 and number 2. In solution number 3, this one is coming out of my mind. It's borrowing or piggybacking off of another game, and that would be creating a limited wish list. Bring up the old D&D limited, cue the old bring the D&D limited wish card right here. Okay, and I feel that our community loves brewing, and it would help along with ensuring that, hey, for like meta competitions, that if you want to brew something, that it's just going to require for meta competitions for you just to think and really bring a team together, rather than the, hey, I'm just going to run a Becky Lynch and throw every support around it, or run a Godcatcher and throw every support around that. So I'm borrowing this idea from the Star Wars Destiny group, in which in the last year they came up with what's called a restricted list. So in this limited wish list, nothing is banned from you forever using this in any competition. However, though, you are only allowed to use 1 card from this list. So, because the problem with Becky Lynch and Godcatcher is not necessarily the card by itself, is what you pair it with. And when you pair Jerry Lawler along with Becky Lynch or the Booker T basic action card, now it becomes just severe trouble, in which, oh yeah, I'm just going to target, my opponent has 1 sidekick in the field zone. Well, I'm going to target that sidekick using the Booker T basic action, and now I'm going to force it to block, and then with the Jerry Lawler global, I'm going to double it and pump its damage. And boom, so you have a level 2 or level 3, let's say a level 3 Becky, 8 attack. You force that sidekick to attack, has 1 defense, and now you're going to deal 7 Overcrush. But with that Jerry Lawler global, you're going to, since it was blocked, you're going to double that damage, so it goes from 8 to 16. So your opponent just takes 15 just from making sure that you had a shield and a fist in your reserve pool. rather than your opponent saying, you know what, I don't want to block, I'll let it through. Which that would be okay with the Booker T Global, but paired it with Jerry Lawler just makes it for a little bit of a negative play experience. And it's just like, oh yeah, if you're running Becky Lynch, you got to run basically both of those. The other part with with Godcatcher is that, oh hey, if you're running Godcatcher, you're going to want to run Under Surveillance because you're going to be able to send that die through unblockable. So if you could just line up and send the Godcatcher through unblockable, well, guess what? It's just going to happen. So you're just going to send 10 damage right through. So I feel like, hey, you want to play the Godcatcher, that's fine, but you can't play the Godcatcher that enables it. So going back to when we were the old ban of Cosmic Cube and Super Rare Yuan-Ti, those were used basically in conjunction with one another. So what did WizKids do first? Well, they banned the rare Cosmic Cube because that was kind of the enabler. And then eventually they banned the Super Rare Yuan-Ti. So rather than having maybe both of these cards banned, we can have a list of cards that shouldn't be played together. And because those cards shouldn't be played together, we can put this all together, and that way, oh yeah, you still want to use your Becky Lynch, that's fine, but you can't use the card that just completely pumps her up and makes it terrible and for your opponent or a negative play experience. So that's kind of solution number 3, which is what I'm proposing. Now, it is a long list that I have posted up here, but however, I mean, these are ideas of just starting points because, I mean, basically, I mean, do you want to come across every team that's not only running one of these, but, oh yeah, you're going to run Eddie Guerrero to prevent your opponent from using energy in the reserve pool so you can attack. You're going to run Istrid so that way you can shut off your opponent's globals. Probably run Clayface so that way you can get that double energy. Maybe an Intellect Devour. So honestly, with this whole list, and also too, I think too from the new set, Drax and Typhoid Mary. I mean, we're bringing back basically the 4-cost Blob and the 3-cost Shriek. So maybe it just might be a good idea to where, like, oh yeah, you can only run one of those on your team, and the rest you're going to build around. So you can build around that one card, but now you're restricted as far as that one card that you can use. Alrighty, folks, that's it. That's all I wanted to say about this. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Ministry of Dice, for putting out that video on just improving our metagame and making sure that we don't have a stale metagame. And this is just a place where we can talk and go forward with. Alrighty, folks, until next time, thanks for hanging, thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.